Hey, and welcome to the first lesson of our Math 20-3 course. So we start off the year by talking about personal budgets and banking. All right. Um, so our first lesson is going to be talking about expenses and income. We can't really talk about budgeting until we talk about kind of categorizing where our money comes from and where our money goes. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this lesson. So we have three different kinds of expenses. Now remember, expenses are money that you spend. So the first is recurring expenses. These are the same. These are the same. Always. Every month. Okay? Variable expenses change. So these are costs that change every month. And lastly, they're unexpected expenses. These are surprises. Okay? Things that don't happen every month. So these don't happen regularly. All right, and let's do some examples. So things that could be a recurring expense are things like rent. Okay, the same thing every month. Or if you have a phone contract, your phone bill. Or if you never go over your limit, your internet bill. Right? Or maybe if you have kids and you give them an allowance. So if you give, different than getting, if you give an allowance. Right? Or I don't know, let's say car insurance. Okay, these are all examples of recurring. All these things should be the same every month. Now, a variable expense is something that happens every month or happens regularly, but the cost changes. So I'll give you some examples of some of my variable expenses. A big one for me is fuel. All right. Another one is food. I always spend some money on food. It just changes every month. All right. Another thing could be, let's call it entertainment. Okay. So for myself, I always spend some sort of money on my iTunes, whether it be for apps or whatever, or music, but it's always a different amount. I never say, you know what, $10 a month. It always changes. Right. Now, unexpected things, these are things that you're not really planning for. All right, they don't happen regularly. So for myself, this is my biggest one, is when my vehicle breaks down. And my other biggest one are my impulse buys, my toys. Okay, so if I buy a new guitar, if I can spell that correctly, if I buy a new guitar, or if I buy, well, that's my biggest toy. If I buy a new Xbox or whatever the cool toy is these days, I don't know. I always buy guitars or iPads, iPhones, iPhone 7s now. Right? Those would all be unexpected ones if you weren't really planning for it. Impulse buys. All right. Now, on the other hand, we have income. Now we have two different kinds of income. Regular income is like recurring expenses. It is the same, okay, every time. Variable income is in different amounts or is in irregular intervals, okay? Or different amounts or intervals. Okay. So some examples of that could be irregular income. Your biggest one is your paycheck. All right, so myself, I know that I'm going to get so many dollars every month for teaching. For you guys, some of you might get an allowance. I don't know. I never got an allowance, so I don't know what that's like. But if you got, let's say, I don't know what a typical allowance would be, let's say $5 a week, you can count on getting that $5 every week. Now, if you retire, you can always count on some sort of pension. Okay, the same amount every time you're expecting it. Now, a variable expense is a different amount or at irregular intervals. So if you decide to sell something, okay, you don't sell all your stuff every day. That would be a variable income. Another big one, if you get presents, your birthday only comes once a year. So that, you can't really, you don't know what to expect, but sometimes you get nice presents. All right. Another variable income could be, say I do some work for a family member, and let's say it's cutting firewood. Okay, I cut some firewood and I get paid $20. Now I don't do that every month. I just do it when I can. So I'm going to call that let's call it odd jobs. Okay, that could be another variable income. So let's do one example and then I'll get you guys working. All right. So the first example, I want you to try it on your own first, and then check if your answers are the same as mine. So Lori is a college student who lives with her parents in Brandon, Manitoba. Some items from her financial records are shown below. Right, so we want to identify income and expenses, and then classify the income as regular or variable, and the expenses as recurring or variable. All right, so I want you to pause the video, try this on your own, and then check if your answer is the same as mine. All right, assuming that you tried this on your own, I am going to give you a little bit of a legend here. So, oops. I am going to use VI for variable income and RI for regular income. Then I am going to do RE for regular expense and VE for variable expense. All right, bike race entry fee, $75. Okay, that costs me money, but I don't do it all the time. So that is going to be a variable expense. My car insurance is $180. Again, that costs me money, but that's a regular thing. So that would be a regular expense. Recurring, sorry. I sold my skateboard for $65. That means I made some money, but I don't have a billion skateboards. I can't do that every day. So that is a variable income. My groceries cost me $75. That cost me money, so that would be a expense. But it is variable because I don't know how much it is every time. And same with gas. Changes every time. A food relief donation. That was sweet of her. That cost her money, but I don't know if she does that every time, so I'm going to call that variable. $100 birthday gift from parents, that's income, but birthdays don't happen all the time. Clothes, $125, that is an expense, and it would be variable. Dinner at a restaurant, Another variable expense, unless you budget $35 a month for restaurants. A cell phone bill, another expense, but that one is recurring. An $800 paycheck, finally some income. And then typically your paycheck, is not variable. Typically your paycheck is regular. You can count on that. Your computer loan payment. Loans typically are every month. They happen all the time. So that's recurring. And your yard work for parents. So I would hope, so I just realized I made a mistake up here. That should be income. And I would hope your parents are paying you for yard work. So that should be income, but it is variable. All right. So hopefully you got all those right. If any of them you don't agree with, just let me know. Try this self-check question, and good luck. Have fun.